Cancel.
Schweezy.
Ooh, from NME. Jonny Greenwood says he pretended to play keyboard when he joined Radiohead.
That's rough, buddy.
During the conversation with NPR's Fresh Air, Greenwood discussed his rise from legendary guitarist and keyboardist to award-winning composer. Early days, February 8th, he was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Score for James Campion's film The Power of the Dog. Listen to the full episode below. That's from the article. Thom Yorke's band had a keyboard player whom I think they didn't get on with because he played his keyboard so loud, he told NPR's Terry Gross. And so when I got the chance to play with them, the first thing I did was make sure my keyboard was turned off. I must have done months of rehearsals with them with this keyboard, and they didn't know that I had already turned it off. Greenwood also shared that Radiohead's frontman didn't notice he wasn't playing at first. They made quite a racket, quite a noise. It was all guitars and distortion, and so I would pretend to play for weeks on end, and Tom would say, I can't quite hear what you're doing, but I think you're adding a really interesting texture because I can tell what you're not playing, he said. And I'm thinking, no, you can't, because I'm really not playing. And I'd go home in the evening and work out how to actually play chords, and cautiously over the next few months, I would start turning this keyboard up, and that's how I started in with Radiohead. He also discussed his approach to film scores, including his work on Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza, James Campion's The Power of the Dog, and Pablo Larraín's Spencer. My reaction when Paul asked me was excitement, Greenwood said. About the first time Anderson reached out to him asking if he'd score 2007's There Will Be Blood, I thought, this is going to be a bit being in a band in somebody, except I'm in a band with Paul and the people who are making this film. Outside of today's Oscar nominations, Greenwood received an Academy Award nomination in 2018 for Phantom Thread and a Golden Globe nomination for The Power of the Dog. Meanwhile, he's also set to embark on a tour with Radiohead's side project The Smile. They announced UK and European tour earlier this month, with kicks off in Zagreb on May 16th. The trio, comprising Yorke, Greenwood, and Sons of Kemet drummer Tom Skinner, released their debut single, You Will Never Work in Television Again, and its follow-up, The Smoke, in January. So, it sounds really funny because, like, Thom Yorke kind of does sound like that person who would be a little bit full of shit. Like, he's making good music, but he's also seems kind of pretentious at the same time, and this is something that just kind of shows how pretentious he is in a bit, where he's like, I can't really hear what you're doing, but it's really adding a great texture. He's not playing at all. Like, it's just he's just being duped around. So I don't know. This story's like really funny. And he went from that to playing, he's like, now he's writing scores for films and getting nominated for Oscars. It's just really funny. So I don't know. It's just, like, I just turn the keyboard off and play. I've played in, like, the thing with jazz, though, is, like, in most bands, when you're the guitar player and you're, like, the main guitar player, it's like, you're the cool guy. But if you ever played in, like, jazz groups, the guitar is the most worthless instrument in that group, because sometimes you're just playing with the piano players playing, or trying to blend in with what the horns are doing and stuff like that. It's not really a necessary, because a lot of bands don't even have guitar players, and they'll just, the keyboard player kind of just covers that shit, no problem. So, like, sometimes you play so quietly, like, oh, you're playing too loud, then you just turn off, and then you're not playing at all, and they're like, oh, that's perfect, your perfect sound. One time I was doing, like, the musical, it was, we had Spring Awakening at my school, and I was using an amp, because I'm like, I'm not going to let them control the volume or anything, and so they mic'd up the amp or whatever, and they said I was, like, playing too loud, and it was, like, barely any volume going in the mic. I'm like, you could tell the sound what they're doing, like, there's a button that says pad, press the pad down button, and then you can turn it up and you got a lot more volume control or whatever. Because I could barely, I was standing right next to the amp, but I could barely hear it. That's the problem. Like, I don't know how they are having problems, like, with it being too loud when it's barely loud. But they were pretty dumb at fucking, they were pretty fucking dumb at, like, recording or the live sound stuff. They were just like, they're like, oh, here's a stereo. No, they had like 3 microphones, and they're like, okay, you got to do a stereo pair. So you have to turn the stereo pair when you're recording it through an analog interface. One mic is to the very far left, the right mic to the very far right, and then the middle one in the center. They just had it all in the center, like, oh, well, the spacing's kind of weird. I'm like, yeah, because it's 3 mics set to mono. I don't know, whatever. I don't think I explained that very well. Anyways, though, this is funny. This made me laugh, and that's why I wanted to go over it right now on the show. Hey, you just finished one of the many highlights from Cancel Schweezy. We got plenty more on the channel, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you like what you just watched, go ahead and smash that like button as well. Go subscribe for more so we can teach you how to be a better human in our world. So yeah, stay awesome.